No, it's not. Oh, whoa, okay. I think it knows I'm coming up, so it shuts itself off. So anyway, I think the selectmen need to decide the fate of what the law firm is, whether it's to firm support, sever ties, or something in between, or screen somebody off. Second point is, in light of the issue that was brought up at the Board of Finance meeting, I think Selectman Dunn owes an explanation to the Board of Selectmen and to the public as to why he did what he reportedly did with the 12/3/20 incident regarding the chairman of the Board of Finance. One letter that came into the Board of Selectmen says, well, why is this being brought up now? And I think the more appropriate question is, why was it kept under wraps until now? It should have been, from my perspective, reported to the Board of Finance immediately. It was kept from them for 18 months, from what I can tell. And they're the entity that I believe legally could have done something about it. And it was also kept from the Republican Town Committee, which was charged with renominating candidates. Third point is there's a lot of correspondence on your agenda tonight about the investigation protocols in C411. And I don't think the issue is so much of whether the First Selectman or the Board of Selectmen initiates the investigation. I think there's two interpretations that need to be made, and I think one of them was made by either Bill McNamara, who was town attorney, or Ed McCreary, who was town attorney after him. I'm not sure what the interpretation was or if they actually formally opined on it, but I think there's two issues that need to be looked into with it. One is, does the first sentence where it mentions boards and commissions apply to individual members of boards and commissions or the boards or commissions themselves? Because, as we all know, when you're on a board or commission, planning, zoning, Board of Finance, that entity only has authority as a board. The individual members have no authority. Second point is, this is one that we've struggled with for years, is whether about somebody failing to appear or refusing to testify for the Board of Selectmen. We know the Selectmen really can't kick elected officials out of office, and we know union employees have a due process. So I think that the town attorney needs to opine on the enforceability of that second sentence in C411. And as far as accountability is concerned, I intend to go to the Board of Finance and reaffirm the points that I made, because if what has been reported is true, and again, all we know is what was said at the Board of Finance meeting and then reported in the News Times, I mean, we're one community and one standard has to apply to all. So I really hope that they take their investigatory responsibilities seriously, and I do hope that they get to the bottom of it and we have the facts as to what happened in December of 2020. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Andy Kame, 5 Fernbrook Drive. I'm kind of have a couple of comments on a variety of things. The first is the Charter Revision Commission. It would be awfully nice if we could get those meetings recorded, televised on YouTube. Also, if the agendas could be posted. I looked when I was attending the last meeting, and a lot of the information was not available. That's an important commission. Many people in the town are interested in submitting ideas. Many people are interested in the ideas that have already been submitted. If that information could be made available to the public, I think that's very important. I think many people have weighed in on the Board of Finance situation and the letter and that type of thing. I think really of concern to me is the fact that the Board of Finance approved selectmen salaries. And it's unfortunate that that letter was withheld by the prior selectmen. As you know, the selectmen in prior years have received a 25% pay increase, the first selectman, as did the other selectmen. I'd like to know if there was any relationship between holding that letter back and a pay increase. The extent, whether you do investigations or this or that or the other thing, or people are on boards or off boards, is a secondary consideration. At a minimum, people need to behave better. They need to treat everybody, taxpayers, town employees, commissioner, people on their boards, with the respect that they do. I would suggest that the people that have behavioral issues obtain counseling at their own expense and see where that goes. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. Eve Sturtevant, 3 Rachel Farm Road in Brookfield. I am addressing you tonight regarding the matter of a possible ethics violation, reprimand, and/or dismissal of the Board of Finance Chairman Glenn Rooney, which is allotted for in our town charter, section C4-11, investigations, removals, suspensions, paragraphs A and B. Mr. Rooney admitted he threatened the town employee years ago, signing his letter disgruntled. First Selectman Dunn, at the time, wrote to Selectman Slater, quote, "I honestly do not think he feels he did anything wrong, and that is the problem," end quote. Slater replied, quote, "Everyone has bad days," but by the time he replied to you a month later, he was still irritated. Period. I hope he's embarrassed himself enough that he won't be showing up at town hall for a long time, exclamation mark, end quote. Fast forward to today. Why is this coming up again? It appears that Mr. Rooney has not changed. He did not heed the warning given to him by the Board of Selectmen in 2020. Complaints have continued through the years of 2021 and 2022 regarding the behavior of Mr. Rooney, the last being an email exchange in May of 2022. The Board of Finance chose to make this public when they read their letter out loud last month. So, people of Brookfield, that is why it is coming up again. The Board of Finance brought it to the Board of Selectmen as a concern. As everyone is trying to jump on the bandwagon against Attorney Herbst, let me make one point perfectly clear. Attorney Herbst wrote, quote, "In my opinion," and I'm going to stress that again, "in my opinion, your tone is condescending and misogynistic," period, end quotes. Attorney Herbst never once called Mr. Rooney a misogynist. As a resident, I personally hold the following people that were Board of Selectmen during this period: Harry Shaker, Steve Dunn, and Sue Slater, as being responsible for where we are today. The 3 of you had a fiduciary duty to protect your employees and residents years ago. Besides that, you had a fiduciary duty to your political parties to alert them to this behavior when the vacancy committees met and chose candidates last year. First Selectman Carr, Woman Carr, I thank you for being the only selectman we have to actually follow our code of ethics and our town charter. I would like to encourage the entire Board of Selectmen to come and meet and come up with a solid plan to avoid and correct future incidents. In my opinion, to launch an investigation, it is quite costly for the town. Mr. Shaker, Mr. Dunn, and Ms. Slater already condoned Mr. Rooney's behavior, thereby setting in motion the practice of unacceptable behavior. The 3 of you now have the opportunity to go forward with transparency and honesty. Thank you. So that is extremely troubling, because then you're telling me the Board of Selectmen had. No, you made a comment to me. I'm making a comment back. Well, I'm rebuttaling too, Harry. So you're telling me there was a clandestine meeting which goes against our town charter because you didn't know about it. Is that what you're saying? In 2020, there were clandestine meetings that you didn't know about. If so, y'all have a bigger problem than you think you do. You're telling me that you didn't know. You're telling me that there's letters between Dunn and Slater. That is a clandestine meeting. If they're discussing a subject that you're not a part of, which you just said, that's a clandestine meeting by definition. Shake your head.
Go ahead, Gwen. You're already up there.
Hi, my name is Linda Arment, better known as Gwen. Yes, 62 Indian Trail. I just want to clarify the situation with Mr. Rooney. I can't reach this. There we go. Demanding that a female employee deviate from her normal policy regarding notarization of personal documents. And when the female employee did not recognize Mr. Rooney as a member of the Board of Finance, he became, quote, irate. He threatened he would have this employee fired. Further, he told this employee that in his capacity as Board of Finance chairman, he would see to it during budget deliberations that he would have her position eliminated. And Mr. Dunn, in summarizing his email of Mr. Rooney's actions, wrote, understandably, many of the employees you interacted with last Thursday fear retaliation since you went out of your way to remind them that you were on the Board of Finance and have power over them to extent you control monies that are budgeted for each department and their jobs. So arrogance, abuse, and threat on this level by an elected city official toward a city employee is allowed, condoned, left unpunished, swept under the rug? Do we not hold our elected officials to a higher standard than this? And the abuse apparently has gone on well beyond 2020 into 2021 and 2022. Why is this allowed? By the head, and may I say, of a very important board, one that controls the money. So what we're saying is money is power and can abuse those who make that money available. If Mr. Rooney has shown no remorse, why is he still in office? I should think something needs to be done, some form of punishment, or Brookfield is saying, hey, it's okay to be uncivil, to abuse people, to threaten their jobs if they don't follow the edict, when civil people behave in uncivil ways. Is this what America has become from the top, the federal on down to the local town level? What kind of example are we setting? I should think Mr. Rooney would be embarrassed enough to give up his position. If nothing else, after all this time, something needs to be written so this type of abusive behavior will never happen again. Thank you.
George Blastry, Rachel Farm Road. A lot of my points, I'd like to also speak about Mr. Rooney's behavior, but most of the points have been already made, so I won't rehash them. Two things that I think are important, and they were the most important things in what I was going to discuss tonight, is that if we do not do something, anything, something needs to be done, we're setting a precedent, which is a very dangerous thing. Because if I was sitting on a board or commission a year from now, and I got accused of doing this, I'd be like, hey, they didn't touch him when he did it. So let's be careful, please, that we're setting a precedent if we don't address this. In some way, shape, or form, that's up to the Board of Selectmen to decide how that happens. And another point I wanted to make is with the current Charter Review Commission in place, maybe this might be a good time to put something in the town charter to deal with this situation, things when they come up like this. So that's it. Thank you.
never gave up, and that's the important part. And again, we do hope that you've learned a little bit about working in municipal government, and you find your home with Eastern College. I'd love to have you back. There's plenty to do and plenty to learn, and thanks, Dennis. And it's important to really try to understand how things operate at the local level, so that when you go out into this great big world, you have a better sense of the trickle-down effect or the trickle-up effect, depending on different situations. But it's about policies and procedures, and as I always like to say, just making things better. And I think that with you as examples, we're in good hands for the future generations of fine people coming out of Brookfield. So I personally want to thank you for everything, and I commend you, and along with your families, I'm very proud of you. So, round of applause. And I have certificates for you guys here. I'm just going to read the names of everybody who will be receiving a certificate. Jackson Sharp, Mahi Dote. Did I mispronounce that? I did? All right. Shruti Kalkar and Alexa Datner. So can you guys just say where you're going to be headed and what you're going to be studying?
I'm going to Ohio State and I'm majoring in finance and minoring in information systems.
Ooh, finance. Okay.
I'm going to Case Western Reserve University and I'm going to study biochemistry on the pre-med track.
Wow.
I'm going to Tufts University and I'll be doing environmental studies.
Awesome. Well, I am in awe of all of you, including Jackson, who's not here tonight. So I'll just go ahead and read the certificate. A certificate of recognition and honor of each of the names I mentioned for the Brookfield Sustainability Youth Council, in recognition and appreciation for serving on the Town of Brookfield Sustainability Youth Council, providing a presentation at the September 13th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting to create a sustainable Connecticut community by promoting equitable action, inclusivity, and eco-friendly practices. Our community is grateful for your efforts. We also congratulate you on your recent graduation from Brookfield High School and wish you much success in the future. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the town of Brookfield to be affixed at the town hall this 5th day of July in the year of our Lord 2022. And I think that we all have a lot to learn from all of you. So I want to thank you for that. And can somebody make sure Jackson gets his award? Thank you. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Would somebody mind snapping a photo of me with these fine young ladies here? Thank you so much. All right, ladies. Good job. Good summer. All right, so that was the fun part. I always love getting to recognize people who are doing great things out there, so keep up the good work. And that's my nephew. Bye. Love you, Jake. The next item on the agenda for tonight, we will be having a presentation by Allison Kennedy and Nelson Malowitz of the WPCA regarding the STEEP grant. And for those of you who were able to look at the packet ahead of time, the entire application is part of the packet for tonight's meeting.
So I have hard copies for you.
Oh, great.
The presentation for tonight and also the documents received via email already.
Thank you, Allison.
And I do have full-size copies of the plans if you're interested to look at the full-size.
Perfect. Was Steve able to get his packet? No.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Allison Kennedy, and I'm the newly appointed project coordinator at the WPCA. Some of you may recognize my name as a former recording secretary for the town of Brookfield. I've covered quite a few commissions at the town, and this is my first time at the podium, so I hope everyone will take it a little easy on me tonight. I'm here to present a project that I believe you're all very familiar with, which is the sewer extension project for the Brookfield Market area. I'm going to give a brief overview of the project highlights and of the draft of the 2022 STEEP application that we're preparing. And then I'm going to turn it over to Nelson Malwitz, who will discuss the budget. The basics of this project are that we were planning to extend the Brookfield sewer system to 9 properties in the market area, including the Brookfield Craft Center. The route of that sewer extension has been reviewed and agreed upon by the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And the project will eliminate the use of failing septic systems in the area and prevent contamination of ground surface water, as well as drinking water wells, and also prevent pollution into the Still River. Currently, the waste that's delivered to the historical dry wells in this area, these dry wells are located less than 80 feet from the Still River. And the septic leaching fields at one of the reference properties have failed and need to be replaced, but cannot be replaced due to prior contamination of the soil from past industry in that area. We tried to anticipate some of the questions that you might have, like why is this project so important? The Brookfield WPCA is responding to requests made by the Brookfield Department of Health and the town sanitarian as a matter of environment and health and public safety. Paul Avery, the town sanitarian, has been an advocate for this project for many years, and he plans to attend the Board of Finance meeting next week to speak in favor of the project. Both he and Doc Sullivan have written multiple letters to the WPCA requesting that we move forward with this project because of these issues. Also, the property owners in question are all in favor of the project, and they're in favor of it for a good reason. They want to avoid costly repairs that would be continuous, because a lot of these failing septic systems cannot be replaced due to the soil conditions there. And how are we going to do this? Our dedicated team of engineers at Langen Engineering have come up with a plan to install small pump stations and a combination of pump stations and gravity lines. They're on their 6th or 7th version of this plan because they've made a lot of updates in order to make the project more cost effective. The pipes will be small, 2-inch and 4-inch in diameter, and the properties, the reason why these pipes can be so small is that the properties are not major generators of waste. Another reason that the pipes are so small and shallow is due to the amount of rock in the area. So because of the size of these pipes, the system cannot have unlimited capacity. Sanitary pumps operate on a very delicate balance, and you can't let the tank sit too full before pumping it, but you also can't pump it too fast. So this design was specifically for these properties, with these properties in mind. And I also referenced the 2022 STEEP grant that we're applying for, that we'd like to apply for, and thought you might want to have some more information on that. I did submit a draft of our application for your review. I hope you've had a chance to take a look at it.
Very well done, thank you.
Thank you. This STEEP grant comes from an aggregate amount of $30 million, and the award amounts are going to depend on the number of participating towns and the number of qualified applicants selected. The maximum amount that we could receive is $500,000, which is the amount that we have requested. STEEP has some very specific rules for which projects they will consider, and they cannot be used for design, studies, engineering, or planning. At this point, the Brookfield WPCA has spent $58,000 of its own money already on design and engineering for this project. STEEP will give preference for awards to those that provide at least a 20% municipal match for the total project cost, which Nelson will go into more detail with when he talks about the budget. Preference for awards will also be given to projects that are considered shovel-ready at the time of application. And to the best of our knowledge, we do not believe that there are any other projects on the town's 10-year capital plan that are considered shovel-ready and eligible for this grant. It's also due by August 15th, and Our draft is nearly complete. All of the state and local permits that are needed are in process. So we believe that this is the town's only chance at these funds. You might be wondering about the moratorium and how this project will relate to that. Well, the moratorium will not apply to this project, and that's simply because with these 9 properties, we estimate a flow of approximately just 1,000 gallons per day, which would not be applied for the moratorium. The area, in our opinion, is not really subject to further development due to the limits of the properties that we're talking about. They have the Still River on one side and the railroad on the other. And also, our sewer system is being designed specifically for the uses that they are now, and as I mentioned before, is not designed to handle further capacity with these lines. And will we get this grant? What are our odds? What are our chances? We kind of like them. We think that the application is pretty strong. Greg Dembowski, who has worked on multiple steep grant applications and been successful with quite a few, thinks that this is a very strong application. In the past, when we have been awarded steep grants, we have been awarded the full amount requested. And if for any chance, any reason, we don't get the full amount requested of $500,000, we do not have to accept the grant. We can turn it down if we don't get what we're asking for. And so that brings us to why we're here tonight. We would like your support by way of a resolution that authorizes us to submit this application and move forward with the steep grant process. I'd also like to point out, I know that you have had a chance to review the application, but just for the public's knowledge, in the application for the steep grant, I went into great detail about how this project is consistent not only with the state plan of conservation and development, but also with our municipal plan of conservation and development. We actually address 3 of the 5 growth management principles of the state of Connecticut's POCD with this project. And I also go into a lot of detail about the importance of the Brookfield Craft Center to our community. The Brookfield Craft Center is addressed in the TCD plan of revitalization in helping the TCD thrive with their cultural contribution. And also the TCD, the Craft Center is currently listed on Connecticut's State Historic Register of Historic Places and is currently under review by our own historic commission as they're looking into creating a second historic district that would include the Craft Center. So I think it's everyone's responsibility to help preserve this part of Brookfield culture. And now I'll turn it over to Nelson, who's going to do a little bit more in-depth talk about our budget. But I'll be here to answer any questions about the application if you have any at the end of the presentation.
I do have several.
Oh, okay.
But
Would you like to ask me now or at the end?
Before
Sure.
my mind gets too far off track. So just for clarification, this steep grant comes around annually. I don't know for how many past years, but for last year for Brookfield, it was used for cubicles in the land use office. So this year, and just to refresh everybody's memory, this scenario, the sewering of the Brookfield market area, came up as an item on the ARPA proposals. And I've been a huge proponent of it from the very beginning, since it's contaminating our Still River. It's a public health and safety issue, and it was denied at the Board of Finance. If we apply for this, again, the application's due on 15 August, and we are granted the 500,000, we get a 20% match, or we have to match it at 20. We don't have to match it at 20%, but we can match it up to 20%. And they're encouraging people to do that because it's highly competitive. There's only $30 million to go around. And I'm saying all this out loud because I want everyone to understand that this has been looked at time and time again. And for many of you who've been following things like this very closely, you know better than I do, probably. And I say all of that because, again, it's shovel ready. It is, we looked back at the capital projects like Allison had mentioned, and there was just nothing else that fit the bill here. Unfortunately, as we consider going after the 20% match, we can't use ARPA And then it obviously has to be approved at the Board of Finance. But we're on a very tight timeline, and without Steve here, we're not going to be able to vote as a full board. So, you know, we're gonna have to consider how we wanna do that.
Special meeting.
Well, I mean, it would just delay it even longer, so, I guess my question was going to be about the POCD. Let's say that none of this comes to fruition for this round of this steep grant, and I think that would be a huge missed opportunity. The POCD, the next time it's updated, which I think is 2 years from now, will it still include the same language as far as the revitalization of the TCD and the you know, fixing the problem of the
Well,
contamination
you know,
into the Still River?
when I reference the municipal POCD and how this is consistent with it, it's in a broad way as far as in the executive summary of the POCD, we reference safeguarding water quality, raising environmental awareness, anti-pollution efforts, and habitat conservation as all being top priorities. That's one way it's consistent, and I don't think that the town of Brookfield is going to change their views on those topics. At least I hope they're not. We actually also discuss enhancing community character through the preservation of important resources such as natural resources, historic resources, and community character. That's another thing that should not change about our POCD. Brookfield's plan of conservation and development also notes specifically the expansion plans for the Brookfield sewer system in this area as we continue to build the TCD. And that area is still under construction with the Streetscape project, and I don't see that changing over the next couple of years either.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you touching on all of that vis-a-vis the POCD. I just wanted
Right.
for it to be clear that those things will not change 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now. And then that leads me to the point you made about the pipe size and the daily allocation. And is that in writing where it says that that cannot be increased after this project is complete? Because there are concerns about, I don't know, more development or condominiums or someone coming in there because they now have access to the sewer to come in and just build as they wish.
Right. I think that might be something for the engineers because it's the way this system is designed and as far as what these pump stations can handle. Am I mistaken? So I think that if that was something that you needed, we might be able to talk to our engineers about describing specifically the way the system was designed, what amount of capacity the pump stations can handle, and the pipe size.
It's a small system just to develop for the 9 properties, and so if you had a bigger property, we have to start over. And there's such a limited amount of land there between the railroad and the river, you really can't do much with those properties. And if you're gonna do some kind of I think the boogeyman last time was affordable and incentive housing, the largest fire truck is able to circumnavigate it. You can't even back into the driveway the way it is now, so it's just not likely to happen at all without a wholesale deal in terms of turning it around. So this project has been on a glint in the eye of the WPCA and the property owners since the mid-90s, and so it went down because we didn't have enough. It was too costly for those properties, and we looked at it again in 2015, and the same thing. We couldn't get it down to where it was under the limit where you can charge a property for how much it's benefited by having a sewer in there. It's generally about 10% of the groundless value. And so when we had the ARPA funds, it was perhaps a way to circumvent that by infusing some money into it. We did in the so-called 3 condo project up by the Whiskey School, where we had $2 million worth of state grant to offset the costs. And so that was an infusion of funds. And here we have a potential to get steep grant, which is outside. It's not money that's in Brookfield's coffers now, like ARPA was, to be able to distribute it. It's outside money, so we're looking to see if we can't get think, I would urge the Board of Selectmen by a resolution of a 2-0 vote to approve the thing, you know, and move forward. I mean, that's important.
Nelson, I think this is the first that I've seen the information on the size of these, and I think that's critical information, because I think it would ease a lot of people's minds to know that there is absolutely going to be a limit on any commercial use of these properties, regardless if somebody buys one or buys two and combines them or whatever, but I think that's critical. That is a major game changer for people, whether they want to back this or not. So if we can get that information, exactly what's going to be the capacity for each of these properties, I think it would be very beneficial. I know it would be for me.
Well, it would be, some capacity for the system, when you have the properties are small, you're in commercial properties.
Well, somebody could buy two properties. I mean, I'm just saying, if we know that there is a capacity limit, I just think that's very good information to get out to us, so, and I think that'll ease a lot of people's minds. So.
Well, that was really informative, Allison, and again,
thank
I've
you very
looked at
much.
the application several times. It is really thorough and very well done, so thank you
Thank you.
for committing to that.
Thank you.
I really don't have much more to say about the cost that we were trying to do.
Well, that's the most important part, because if your ask is a 20% match, I need to learn more.
Okay, so we've looked at it 7 ways to Sunday, how we might be able to get it down, and we've actually taken quite a bit of cost out of it by combining properties with one pump station. That means the WPCA has to own the pump stations and that sort of thing. So we've done what we could to get costs out, and things cost money. You just can't get it any further than that. That's why we need the grant. Now, I mean, as representing the WPCA, the hope was that you're not asking, the grant monies could come from the town of Brookfield. It could be WPCA money. It could be town of Brookfield money. And so, and if it were WPCA money, then the town of Brookfield is asking for the subset of property owners that are currently on sewers to pay for the benefit that's going to happen in the Brookfield, in this market area, Brookfield Craft Center area, which I think is a bit unfair. But what we could do is the properties are going to be assessed and can pay over 20 years, so it's a small amount each year. And if Brookfield participated in the benefit assessment for the common areas, as it were, for the matching part, then by the numbers, it would be the Brookfield portion's about $250,000. You pay 1/20th every year. So with interest, maybe $13,000 or $14,000 a year for 20 years is how it would shake out. So rather than have the subset of sewer customers pay for it, but the project really needs to be done for health, safety, and environment. WPCA is accountable to the state for health, safety, and environment. So I think the best thing to do, however, is for the town to sort of pony up, shoulder some of the responsibility. This whole Four Corners area has got a lot of investment. I mean, it is, here's something on the other side of the tracks, as it were, and so it really should be supported. The Brookfield Craft Center, if that would fail for whatever reason, you have to change every brochure that's ever been published for Brookfield, because it's a major piece of historical and sort of character of the town impact. So anyway, that's really all I have to say. I mean, we really struggled hard to get the first cost came in over $3 million, and so we said it's unacceptable. So now we're under $1 million, and in order to be able to do what needs to be done, and that necessitates the project be reduced to the minimalist amount in order not to have, or be able to serve the properties and not have it be expandable in that area. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, so this budgeting chart is very helpful. I see that you built in the 10% contingency, and we all know, I'm assuming you put that there because the longer we wait, the more things
Well, it's an
get
inflation
expensive.
contingency of 10%. You can't predict the time. In some countries, it's 10% a month. So anyway, it's so hopefully, if we get this steep, hopefully that wouldn't have to be. Then the town portion is even less. So, but we build it in just so that you can't go, if we get the Board of Finance to agree, we only want to go to the well once, and not have it be, okay, there's an overage and now we can't do it. But, so anyway, it's typically, you add some in there just so that, there's enough money to cover whatever might happen. I mean, you have to do that for schools and everything else you do, so, that's why it's.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a huge proponent of the project. I don't know where we're gonna find the money. And one of the things that, since I came in from the previous administration, that I learned real fast is that we can't keep bonding the town away. And that's the biggest concern. We're in this, what we're calling the debt bubble. Taxes are only gonna continue to go up. And the only option to address this, I believe, is to bond with $250,000. So,
What happens is the bond is then, how about the bond, even the benefit assessment project, the WPCA would hold the bond and would be paying it. We could even agree, if the Board of Finance would be to, not have the town pay its portion until the bubble is over. And we get creative, so,
yeah, I really don't want to turn away from this because it is our opportunity at $500,000, which is a
yeah,
significant
of
amount
free
of
money
money.
that wouldn't fall into our pockets if we didn't apply for it. So we're just asking for the Board of Selectmen to say, okay, yeah, part of the steep grant is that the town fathers, are in favor of the project, otherwise they won't even look at it. So anyway, that's what we're asking, a resolution to, have that happen. You could do it tonight, or,
Well,
you could wait and have another.
I don't think there's any way we can do it tonight.
I don't know.
are you comfortable voting tonight?
No, I think, to be honest with you, I think it should be a full board decision. This is the first that I've seen this. We weren't planning on voting on it tonight. I thought we were planning on possibly having a special meeting.
I mean, the application's due on the 15th of August. The Board of Finance will have to address it if it's gonna move forward. If we don't address it tonight, we could have a special meeting, and then August, what's the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
Well,
The
we could,
first.
I mean, we could have a special meeting not next week, but we could have it, we can have a special meeting within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that they haven't had an opportunity to even look at this. So, I think that we should probably pause on taking this to vote tonight.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to make a decision like this when you're getting the information tonight, so.
oh, that's fine.
And I also think it would be better suited to have the full board. I feel that Steve is what I have heard in the past, that he is in favor of it, so I'm not gonna say that, but I think he is, so.
No, I think so. I mean, at this point, all we're asking for is permission to apply for the grant, not anything further.
But that permission then commits us to a 20% match, which I don't know where we're gonna come up with that money. And I'm not comfortable forwarding it to the Board of Finance without having a little bit more fidelity that it's something we can even get after, which
Yeah.
I just started discussing with Marcia on Friday.
It's the last thing we want to do.
Okay, we'll sit down with Marcia.
Meeting happen before the Board of Finance meeting on Wednesday?
No.
Unless.
I mean, essentially, it could.
I'm available whenever, so I could,
How much time do you and Steve need to review
well,
it?
I would need a few days, if you wanted to have it one day next week, maybe Tuesday, something like that.
I won't be here,
Oh, well,
but I'm a yes to you guys.
well, no, I mean, we'd
I can be online.
be
but-
online.
Okay,
I mean, it's not gonna be a long meeting. It's really a matter of doing due diligence. I think I would be pretty, it would not be a good decision for me to just make a decision on this without being able to look at the information.
I feel I have all the information I need, but I have to give them an opportunity.
No, that's fair. Okay, well, let me know how we can help, educate.
But if you wanna set something up, Tara, for Monday or Tuesday, I'm available whenever anybody's available.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, 5 Alpha, our announcements for this week. We have our next coffee with the community on the 30th of July at the Highway Market. Our garden club tour will be this Saturday from 9 to 3:30, and they're going to be celebrating their 60th anniversary. The police will be having their second annual National Night Out on August 2nd, and that was very fun last year. All of their proceeds will benefit the Special Olympics, so it's a great evening to come out and support the Special Olympics. And then our COG is doing a feasibility study on broadband solutions across the region, and there's a survey that's posted on the town website if you'd like to participate in that. For 5 Bravo, we have a lot of correspondence that's come into the Board of Selectmen for this month. And you can find that all listed as part of the packet. And over to Marcia for the financial update.
Well, Happy New Year. That I saw many of you celebrating our new fiscal year over the weekend. That was great. That we are closing the books on last year. We believe we're in good financial shape. That our revenues are, as our last, seem to be, from what we can see so far, close to our projection of the last time we provided it. So we're, I think, within $100,000 as far as we can tell. We have to wait till August for some of the numbers. Our expenditures are under budget, which is our only option. And we'll find out how far under budget. We'll be closing the books at the end of July. That we're waiting for bills to come in and things, and should be have some pretty solid numbers by your September meeting. The auditors will be coming in September. So that is the report for tonight, unless you've got any questions.
I don't, but thank you on a first go with the budget and getting that referendum going and passed, and then closing out this past year.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, Marcia.
And appreciate you staying this late into the evening for those few minutes. But we'll move into the contingency emergency plan for our registrar of voters. This draft is something that the registrars pointed out that was necessary. The last one, I believe, was updated in 2013. And is that not right, Dottie?
No, we updated, the last one we did was 2020.
2020.
2013 was the first time it was done.
Oh, okay.
That's when it was, came to be required.
Thank you.
And about every 2 years.
Every 2 years from 2016 to current.
Okay, so we're at that point now. If the last update was in 2020, and this is something that's been floating around with me and the police and the fire and the schools, and Dottie and Mel and I have taken several stabs at it. We've had a couple of meetings. We've gotten some input, and I think there was some input today as well. Did you see that email by chance from Doc?
Oh, that's just a correction, wasn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, and he wanted to be a part of this group too.
Oh.
He did say that, he wanted to be part, because he's not listed as one of the members of the team.
So are we going to adopt the change and add him to this list before we approve this, or?
We see no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem.
Not a problem? Okay. Have you had time to review this?
I did go through it. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
So-
was able to look through it thoroughly today. So,
Yeah, so this is important not only to safeguard the ballots in case of an emergency, and I understand that the registrars actually had the polls open in 2018 during the macro burst, which was a major emergency. So it's important that not only is, again, the safeguarding of the ballots and the equipment and things like that handled appropriately, but also, and more importantly, in my opinion, is the personnel and the people working the polls and the voters themselves, should an emergency arise while they're voting. So thank you for the time that you guys put into getting this up to snuff. I think it looks good. And again, if there's any changes that need to come about, we can always make those changes along the way.
We are still confirming the places where the polling places would be moved. in case of, they became unusable during the day. And, we did agree that Brookfield High School voting would move to Center School. St. Marguerite's, we talked with Mary at Parks and Rec, and she said that the beach facility would not be appropriate since most of the year it's not operational. They don't have water and that turned on. So we are hoping to move that to the library, and I spoke with the librarian today, and she is going to, consider it, but she seems very positive in that we could use the library. And then also St. Marguerite's, would be moving to St. Joseph's, gym, since they no longer have a contract with Danbury to use the school. And, Rita, the secretary, is going to discuss it with, the father and get back to us.
So this is just short term because in January the new school will be open, so.
Right. But we would still use St. Joseph's as the polling place, where it would be moved from that district. For the, if there
Town
were an
hall.
emergency, yeah, for the town hall.
The absentee counters.
So even though that location is out of the parameters of that district, it's okay to move it out of the district in an emergency?
We have to in an
We have to.
emergency.
Just verify.
Okay, so our next election in town is on the 9th of August, and then we have the gubernatorial in November.
That's correct.
And we're also, for the August, the redistricting has already happened, and I'm just thinking out loud right here, this has nothing to do with the
Most
emergency.
spots have gone out.
Okay,
No, they have been printed, they should be going out either
Today or
or
okay,
tomorrow.
all right. So, again, are you comfortable with this as it stands?
I am, yes.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen adopt this emergency contingency plan for the registrars. The revised draft.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, then.
Thank you. This next one is for the zoning commission resolution to opt out of the provisions of the Connecticut statutes. This was adopted in a unanimous bipartisan vote of the zoning commission on the 23rd of June in their response to the state's changes for the Zoning Enabling Act. You ready to vote on this?
Yes, I was able to.
So I'd like to
Look
make a
through this.
motion that the selectmen adopt the 3 resolutions to opt out of the provisions of the Connecticut's general statutes concerning the temporary healthcare structures, accessory apartments, and parking spaces for the dwelling units.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And moving on to the updates, we had a public hearing for the loitering ordinance this evening that started at 6:45 and it went till 7 p.m. right before this meeting. Have you had a chance to review the loitering ordinance?
Yes.
Are you ready to vote?
I am ready to vote.
I'd like to make a motion that the selectmen approve the loitering ordinance as discussed at the public hearing on July 5th, 2022.
I will second that.
Discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda, we had a chance to look at 7 alpha through delta. I do want to point out some employee changes. We've had 5 new hires, one of which is part-time help in the land use office, or the building department more specifically. We have a new mail courier, 2 new library shelvers, and we have hired with the approved ARPA funds we're calling them a support liaison, who will be working alongside of many of the departments across town, primarily social services, to be the conduit and the liaison for people in need across town in many different situations. So we're really excited to onboard Ryan Soto, and if you have a chance over the next few weeks or months, please introduce yourself to him. He'll be building relationships with the police, the fire, other organizations across our region, so that he can insert himself where it makes sense for people who might need assistance. So I'm really excited about that position. I think it's perfect timing. So, do you have any questions about anything else in the consent agenda? I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 7 alpha through delta on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion there?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
So for the Still River Greenway Committee, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint the following members to the committee for the term of 1 August 2022 through 1 August 2023. Those individuals are Jay Annis, Bodan Dachau, James Diesman, Maureen Farrell, Jean Hartnett, and Rose DeMarco.
I will second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, there is. I would like to request that the Board of Selectmen approve all, or not approve, but reappoint all but Rose DeMarco. It's not that I am going to be voting no, but I am going to be abstaining from this vote. And in order for the Board of Selectmen to be able to have a majority vote to put this through, I would ask that we table Rose until the three of us can meet. And we can have, because I am going to abstain from this. And in order for us to pass this, it has to be a majority vote. So again, it's not that I am voting no, but I wanted to recuse myself from this. And I don't know, Dennis, if we could put this on Tuesday rather than wait for next month, could this be on the special meeting?
Yes.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, so that we can get it expedited as quickly as possible. So my request would be to table Rose until we have a full board so that we can get a majority vote.
You want to vote on the others?
Yes, yes.
So you don't want to table the whole committee?
I mean, I know it's only a couple days, but if you want to, I'm more than happy to approve everyone, or we can, if you want to just table, I mean, it's only, what, 4 days? Three
And the term
business?
doesn't start till 8/1, so
Yeah.
it's really up to you. Either way, it's.
Okay, then we can, yeah, let's just table this. And
Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to make a motion. So do I have to rescind my previous motion?
No,
Well, we
that
didn't
was just,
vote on
that
it.
was just,
So let me correct the motion
Yeah.
that we table the vote of reappointing the members of the Still River Greenway Committee to our next meeting.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No, I'd like to be able to try to get that, if we have a Tuesday meeting, so that it can be done as soon as possible.
I don't know when we're going to have our next meeting yet, Harry. Okay, let's get through this meeting first.
Okay. No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I'd like to state for the record that item 10 is going to be canceled, as I would like all members of the Board of Selectmen present for the session. Just make a motion to remove it. So I'd like to make a motion to remove or cancel the executive session from this agenda.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there's nothing to follow, so I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
We're opposed. Keep going.